Hello everybody, welcome to our bi-weekly conformance meeting. Today is March the 9th, 2021, and I'm your host, Rian Kleinans, and I will be presenting this meeting according to the CNCF Code of Conduct, where we're basically all going to be our most excellent to each other. Okay, let's start off. Thanks for everybody for showing up. First point, Hippie, that's yours. The change to protect the release branches. You're muted.
Yep, I'm going to pull that one up. The release branch, we had some merges into release 120 that changed conformance, which broke all the submissions. And we met in SIG Arch and the SIG Architecture channel and noted that we should probably put a blockade plugin on the branches. However, the blockade plugin did not include support for branches. And Nikita amazingly stepped up very quickly to not only submit a PR to change that so that it did support it. She also submitted the change to the configuration for PROW. There's a bit of a fix that needs to be applied, but I just wanted to shout out that issue has moved forward. And yeah, just a great shout out to Nikita for that work.
Thank you very much. Great job, Nikita. Thank you very much for that. And the next point up is Stephen, tracing down flakes. You're muted.
Thanks. The lifecycle tests for deployment, pod status, and replication controller all were having a number of flakes. And going through, if we go to the very top, there's the basic summary is pretty much 95% of all the flakes were all commonly coming back to having an issue with a volume access for Cube API access. And I tracked it back to do with the service account token secret is what it was getting used for. And the fact that it was getting deleted before the pod gets to be able to as it's trying to come up, which means then the pod is not available for doing whatever it needs to do as part of the test. It's falling into an area that I really have no idea of where to track the problem next, and really would like a bit of direction on who's best to try and ping. So how to get this fixed, because this morning I've looked at a flake for proxy with path, and it's got exactly the same issue where the pod just doesn't come up based around a volume is missing. So it'd be great to have some thoughts, maybe Clayton, if you've around what might be causing it.
I wonder if there's
go ahead, Epi.
I wonder if there's a way to debug the reasons behind the failure to mount the secrets for the API access. It seems like any pod by default, is going to be having this issue, and I wonder why it might be isolated to your test.
So, barring a typo, it can be because the test needs to prep. So, like, and there's all sorts of like weird bugs. So, like, this is an area where container runtimes sometimes are not as good as advertised in terms of hitting all the edge cases. I know there's like been a bunch of stuff that's been fixed in Cryo and Kubelet. So let me pull this up. And obviously, kind is every environment is going to unfortunately hit this a little differently, especially if it is like an error in the kubelet and how fast it's running and how contended the node is. Like if there is a race in the kubelet, it manifests like this. And sometimes it's just reproducible because of the way the test sits in the test framework. Like it always catches it and then, we'll improve performance someplace else in a move. So I am not positive. So let me take a look at this one. Is this linked from the agenda? Or am I missing? Oh, okay, yeah, got it.
If you scroll down a little bit, there's actually the output showing the actual volume getting created and being available, but then it gets deleted before then the appropriate pod is trying to use the volume. Sorry, if you go down past the cause, Ryan, to the volume section there, and if we just scroll across a little bit, it shows the operation showing that it started dealing with the volume coming up, it attaches it, and then it tears it down. And then we get an error message saying that that particular volume was not available for the pod to use.
Usually that's because someone deleted the pod. That's a much more likely outcome. Are you sure that the test didn't fail up above? So there's another possibility. So if you get into your, if you have an error and you have a defer that deletes the pod, you're going to see stuff that's like this because you deleted the pod because you're cleaning up because your test's failing and you're not reporting a test failure. That can happen sometimes too.
The timestamps when I was tracking it, the stuff to do with the volumes happening even before before even the first part of the pod being really exercised as part of the test. It's like right at the very beginning part of the test.
So you're talking about the verify control, because the unmount is after your test fails. That's at 5219, which is after 5210, which is when the test fails. So everything from 5219, 225219, the second line onward is after the test has already failed. This just looks like you didn't get the volume mounted. So it says verify. I mean, only the first line is inside your test loop, at least on the first one. The others are after the test fails from your failure message. Let's see, just looking here. I would probably say, without looking at more, let's see, I'll pull this up and go to that line just to look at it a little bit. Without knowing more about this, you don't by any chance have an anti-affinity rule, do you?
There's nothing like that. It's been, to my knowledge, has been set for. This is across now 4 different tests. And the test seems to be, it seems to be okay on some of the test grids. It's running perfectly sweet with no issues at all. And then there's a few where these sort of like weird cases are coming up, but.
Yeah, this is almost certainly either a kubelet or a container runtime bug. If it's happening on the tests that you named, so like on that first one, like simple pod should return command exit control codes, and the 2 pods mounting points to something burped in the kubelet and failed. And this is 121. Yeah, this is definitely like needs investigation by the SIG node team. This is not your test, I don't think.
Yeah, it's just trying to track from the very top, other than the little clue I got with the prefix for the volume, knowing where to go next. It's like a black hole at the moment for me.
And you say this fails every time?
Oh no, it's not every time. It's just,
yeah.
If we scroll to the top and look at the test, if you open up the test grid core links at the top there, Rian, the top 2.
Let's do the first one.
That it's like a few little minor blips, but it's consistently this blip like 99% of the time. I've got a few other little queries that I'm looking at, but this seems to be the common problems that we're facing. And it was just
this is a node or a cryo problem that they need, or this is a container runtime or node problem. They need to debug it. It's not you. I mean, it could be you, but like looking at the failure, I would start in there's enough tests that failed elsewhere in that this looks to me like a controller runtime blip, or could be kind is doing something really weird. You're getting failed to create pad. So on one of these tests, there's a context deadline exceeded, failed to create pod sandbox. That's way out. This is a flake in the container runtime or the node. So it's up to the kind to get the right container runtime team and probably have the node team check it. So it's not you.
okay. But at least I've got we can, I'll look at doing some extra notes around the same flake I'm seeing in the proxy with pass, and then I can pass that on to SIG node.
Yeah, the controller runtime. So we're not seeing this as much in the core cube test because we don't bump parallelism up. But like for instance, in OpenShift, like we run at much higher parallelisms. I see these all the time because we're just fundamentally unreliable. Like kubelet's got race conditions still, and basically the reason why they're only failing rarely is because the nodes aren't being stressed just enough for whatever the situation is to crop up enough. If we doubled or tripled the density of the test running on that machine, we'd probably see it in half of them or something. So usually it just comes down to, you should have enough info here for somebody in the node or the container runtime for kind to poke around and see what's happening at that time frame for that component. And it's anything that low flake rate is not you. That's elsewhere in the stack.
That's cool.
Thank you very much, Clayton. That was very valuable. And thanks, Stephen, for spending a lot of time digging into this. I know you took a lot of effort with that. Thanks. That takes us to the next point. If you want to take it, or should I discuss the ineligible endpoint YAML?
I can take it really quick. It's
Thank
been
you.
open for a while. Rather than having us inside of an API Snoop repository, inside of an SQL query, inside of a database that nobody looks at, the ineligible endpoints YAML being in repository, that's super straightforward to see what our exceptions are. We will use that to help with deciding what endpoints are remaining for the body of work for this sub project. It just needs. I haven't had any negative feedback on it yet. We're just kind of waiting for general approval. Feedback or approval, welcome.
Yeah, we had this in the SIG architecture meeting, and they were also keen that it happened. So basically just moving it into the community so it's more visible.
That's me.
Thank you. So Clayton, if you want to approve it, there would be no opposition from anybody else on the call. Thank you very much. Okay, next topic, cron job endpoints. Some good news there. We have tests that promoted the cron jobs from beta to GA, and they came with tests. I'll go to API Snoop shortly to show that. So that's some good news there. And then the slice the endpoint slice controllers also came in from beta to GA. However, the conformance test that did merge, we picked up that only only one of the 8 endpoints was hit by the test. And I did discuss today with
to see that they are writing stuff that hits their endpoints.
So in the PR, I did hit them up and gave them this information. So basically, there's 7 endpoints that will carry into conformance. It's those new technical debt at the top, which is clearly not what we want. So one of the 8 came in with the 12 cron job, so we got 13 there. So yeah, we asked them to have a look at it. We are at crunch time. If I open the conformance test, it was quite a hefty lot. It's 9 files. It's a lot of work that they've done to get this in, but I did hit them up and explain to them what the issue is, invited them to the meeting. So yeah, let's see. We really need this to come in with, so we don't have new technical debt by the end of the release. So I'll follow that up. Then more PRs. I'll get to that point of yours just now, Hippie. More PRs coming. I see there's 2 more promotions coming up. We are running out of time, so the community should just be aware and keep an eye out for those to make sure that they merge and do not bring in new technical debt when they promote from beta to GA. That is it for myself regarding new endpoints. And Hippie, if you want to, do you want to take the discussion about meeting time?
There's been a few times where we'll have maybe just one person present or nobody present. This is actually pretty excellent to have both Clayton and Dims on the call, and I just wanted to make sure that that we were able to provide a meeting time that was flexible and available to the people interested in attending. But that's really the only statement I have. Thank you so much for being Dims. I know you've got a lot on your plate and attend 1,000 meetings.
There is a conflict usually, and when the conflict is not there, then I show up here. So sorry about that. So is this the end of the meeting? There is something I wanted to bring up.
Only thing left. So again, from sorry, Dims, I didn't see you as I'm watching the document. Shout out from me. Thanks for supporting with a lot of promotions going through this release. Yeah. So what I would suggest, maybe we should ask in the conformance meeting or the conformance channel if we should move this to another slot where we could have more folks, because it's really important that we get the right feedback. And if people are stuck somewhere else, we are happy to move the meeting to get more community involvement. It's important for us to get everybody involved. Dims, if you want to, you can go quickly. I just have the important PRs at the end to discuss. So the floor is yours, and there's a lot of time available.
Thank you. So there is a problem floating around. It hit SIG Arch and SIG node also. It's called the exec probe timeout. If you search for it, you will see a bunch of hits, both in the mailing list as well as in pull requests and issues. So there was a call just before this in SIG node where they were talking about what we need to do, kind of thing. So did you catch this, Clayton, or is this news to you?
I think, well, so it sounds terrifyingly like a discussion I had the other day on a completely unrelated issue. So either I caused it or serendipity happened. It sounds familiar. Is it? Are we not terminating or not gating how long exec probes run?
So yeah, let me explain for everybody. So in 120, the SIG node folks decided to make a change in exec probe timeout, how it works. I think the original intention was to make sure that things behave correctly in Docker shim. But it might have had ripple effects elsewhere, and they are trying to figure that out. But the bottom line here is, at least in Docker shim, at that point in time, the timeout was not being honored in the sense that the container was not getting killed. So then the code was updated so the container does get forcibly killed at the specific timeout. and the default timeout is 1 second or something like that. So what is happening is the Microsoft folks ended up showing up on the SIG node meeting, as well as in general chatter on Slack and email, asking, oh, we need a way to go back to previous behavior. And there is a flag, there's a feature flag which will get you back to the older behavior. But then there was a comment in the code that says we're going to take out this flag in the next release. All right. So, and they were like scared, saying, "Oh, don't take this out. We have to worry about this. There's too many workloads that are in the state where we can't move them out." So that was the worry. So they didn't. So their petition to SIG node was, "Don't take the flag out." And then so there was a PR that merged today in features.go that removes that timeline that was originally specified. But the fallout to this team is that when the flag is on, conformance fails, apparently. So that is worrisome. So I think they have lined up a topic on in the SIG architecture meeting too, in addition to whatever happened in SIG node. So if you want, please take a look at the SIG node video call recording. I don't think it's up yet. I will poke in the conformance channel when it shows up. Yeah, so that's the basic premise, right? So there's two things here. One is how do we deal with that particular situation? And the other side is like, people will show up with this kind of a thing. What do we do as a general rule? Any thoughts here, anybody? Clayton, was this the same that you heard?
No, which actually terrifies me because there's we found 3 or 4 issues in probe recently. So I actually, it was just similar, which just means there's lots of issues.
Right. Yeah, there is one more that is landing today. Elena, I was reviewing hers about the liveness probe, the readiness probe with an additional timeout, not at the pod level, but at the probe level. So that's another thing that's going to land.
And we were seeing timeouts on HTTP probes, and then we were seeing timeouts at an interval, which got me suspicious that there was something it probably was a networking stack, not a general queue problem. But then that did raise, the reason why I was asking was because, or why I thought it might be related is because then there was the question of, are our exec timeouts correctly gated to the probe length? And if they aren't, and if that went wrong, that would be very bad, because that would be execs would pile up and there'd be a bunch of other issues. So that was just I was just the cynic in me was oh, it's probably horribly broken, and everything in Cube is built on a foundation of sand. So
yeah, for sure. So the one other thing that I would ask is, this team is can somebody take a quick look at the chatter and maybe help figure out what to do in the SIG Arch call?
I've got that down for action items. I can do some searching. If there's any existing particular conversations that are poignant starting points, it'd be great to have those links.
Yeah, there is an email in SIG Arch and SIG node mailing list. It is 3 or 4 deep at this point.
All right. Arch, SIG Arch and SIG node?
Yes.
SIG node.
Will do.
Yeah, I'll throw you more links, Hippie, on the conformance channel.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Debs.
Yeah.
Anything
Back
else you want to add?
Rian. No, that's it. Thanks, Rian.
Fantastic. That is worrisome, but now we've got it highlighted, so we'll have a look at before SIG Arch in 2 days' time. Now, last bit for the meeting is we have one PR that is at the moment running on the test grid, which we still want merged for this release. If we look at the test grid, it is running nice and green. Don't go red on me now. Let's see, all nice and green, good times. So this would be ready on the 19th, just in time, 18th, I think. Let me just go back to the issue or to the PR. I did note somewhere, I think it would be on the 19th of March, it would be ready for promotion. So we will prepare the promotion and ping everybody in the architecture to give us the necessary LDCM and approve to get this in before code freeze on the 23rd. We'll appreciate some support there. I think it's all good. Then yesterday we had a merge for this PR right here, which is a promotion. And all running smooth. And that takes us, if we look at the API Snoop link, 24 new endpoints with test for this release. It shows 47 because of when you have metadata for a test that's updated in a previous release and you update the metadata with the second release that applied to that specific test, it pulls it over to the second metadata. There's no programmatic way to separate that. So it does skew it a little. So, but 24 of those, we keep record of which ones come in new, is brand new covered. And if we look at the technical debt, we had 167 in the previous release, we got 129. So moving along very nicely to get to our target end of the year to get us under 75 untested endpoints, killing all technical debt. So that's going very well. Thank you very much for everybody that's supporting us to get this over the line.
Hoorah! I like those numbers.
A beautiful up to the right. And that is everything from me from the agenda. Anything else you want to discuss or any other topics?
I think that's it for the API Snoop and the conformance stuff. On a side note, we're doing some things with the K-Center working group, and since we have a TOC person on the call, I'm interested in seeking some sponsorship for the CNC Infra working group. And I would maybe connect offline. There's beautiful things happening in the Kubernetes community that I'm trying to replicate out that go beyond the Kubernetes community to the entirety of the CNCF, and trying to find a way for the cloud credits that get donated to be stewarded well. And I think that needs some governance and things that we've already have beautiful structures in place that I'm trying to do a bit of minor replicating on a higher level.
AP, who are you asking?
It's not subtle, eh, Dibs?
Not me. I'm not on the TOC.
You're not? I thought you were on the TOC.
No.
Oh, did you?
Well, they don't like me, so.
Oh, I'm. My apologies. I'm quite surprised. Okay, then I will keep fishing.
Anybody that don't like you, refer them to me. I'll tell them you're a nice guy.
We like you,
Thank
peeps.
you.
In this forum, you're well liked. Good. I think that is it for today. If nobody else have anything else, we give you back. This is the meeting that gives back 30 minutes. Thanks for showing up, Clinton and Tim.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Have a good day.
Ciao.
Cheers.